Well, I don't know if you heard, but the Ballon d'Or happened yesterday. I'm just going to say this off the top. This is an award that is given too much importance, as is any one thing that is voted on, like, completely subjectively. I definitely, while Luis Suarez, I'm kind of saying this so he doesn't bite me, I definitely agree with him saying, I really value my golden boots because those weren't a popularity contest, right? They can't be... I earned those on the field and they can't be taken away, right? Like that sort of argument, because it takes years of propaganda, for lack of a better word, to be able to win this award. You need serious momentum, some of that momentum which is created by your own management team, as it should be, because they're doing what they're paid to do, right? To drum up that kind of enthusiasm for whatever's happening. It's a silly award, right? People look at it and it is now this measure of, like, you're a certain level of player, when in reality a lot of different factors go into it. Okay, and we're gonna get into that and a lot of cool things about this one, because Ousmane Dembélé won it. Can you imagine if I parachuted in 4 or 5 years ago and told you that Ousmane Dembélé was gonna win the Ballon d'Or this year? You would have thought I was insane. This was a guy that was more comparable to Anthony Martial than Lionel Messi at the time that I would have been parachuting in to tell you about that in the first place. I mean, let's not forget, Ousmane Dembélé was cast aside by Barcelona. Huge money investment. A lot of people thought they overpaid to get him from Borussia Dortmund, because Dortmund had paid like a fifth of what Barcelona ended up paying for him. Dude, this, mind-blowing. It is. And it goes to show, right, that just because a player doesn't succeed in one place doesn't mean they are bad. In fact, it can mean that they are still incredibly good. Now, particularly for Ousmane Dembélé, I think part of this had to do with growing up, right? I don't know the guy, but for lack of a better way to say it, it had to do with growing up. There's this quote from Samuel Umtiti that I found. It's true that I had to call Dembélé in the morning to see if he was awake, if he knew that training was in the morning. Arriving 50 minutes late wasn't a problem for him. He's a really good kid, but he didn't realize he was at Barcelona. In Paris, he's changed. He's evolved. He's matured, right? This is a guy that, look, I mean, now still is younger than me. I don't feel old. You know what I'm saying? I'm 29. Ousmane Dembélé is younger than me. And I still feel like, sometimes I'm late for a meeting. Sometimes, my professionalism rating isn't necessarily at the highest level or where I would want it to be to get the best out of myself. I'm still growing, hopefully, in that regard, right? Ousmane Dembélé went through that same process, right? I would imagine Lamine Yamal is going through that same process right now, right? Once he figures out what's legal and what's not legal at his birthday parties, he should be good to go. But Ousmane Dembélé went through a process. At a very young age, he became one of the feature players, allegedly. He struggled with injuries, and he struggled with confidence and form. It's not like Barcelona is an easy place to play. PSG's not either, right? The ultras, particularly at PSG, will firebomb your house if you do anything wrong, right? Like, they are intense. But he's clearly more comfortable here. He's in his home country, which, by the way, random fun fact here, Ousmane Dembélé is the first player to win the Ballon d'Or while representing a club from his own country at the time of the ceremony since Englishman Michael Owen in 2001. There hasn't been somebody that won the Ballon d'Or from their own country since 2001. Now, obviously, Lionel Messi wasn't playing in Argentina. Cristiano Ronaldo wasn't playing in Portugal. That helps, right? But even outside of that, there were a solid number of awards that were given, right? But Messi and Ronaldo probably allowed this streak to be the longest streak that will ever exist where this happens. I'm not saying Ousmane Dembélé is ever going to win this award again, because there is another huge part of this. Timing. Ousmane Dembélé had the best year of his career. Won the first Champions League, as the best player on PSG, for PSG. The second ever Champions League won by the French league in general. This huge, towering achievement. And he happened to do that in a year where Messi and Ronaldo are obviously gone. And there wasn't some overlord king of the sport. He also timed it up pretty well where Mbappe was adapting to Real Madrid and Erling Haaland wasn't quite as good as he had been, and Manchester City didn't, win the treble this year. You also didn't have Robert Lewandowski scoring 80 goals. You didn't have a World Cup where Modric took Croatia to the final. It's timing. That is part of the reason why this award is so silly. Did Ousmane Dembélé deserve this? Yes. I don't trust anybody that says he didn't. Lamine Yamal finished second. That's fine. But the problem is the arguments for Lamine Yamal also work for Rafinha, who is in fifth. The only other argument against Rafinha is that he's not the new sexy wonder kid on the block dating some 30-year-old pop singer. He's Rafinha. He used to play for Leeds and people thought he sucked. I'm convinced why he ended up in fifth here. I think Mo Salah probably, him behind Vitinha is a little weird, but I don't think fourth is weird for Mo Salah. I think you could have put Rafinha here in third and then this whole ranking would have made sense. Right? Kylian Mbappe behind Achraf Hakimi. Clearly they valued PSG winning the Champions League a lot, right? You had Donnarumma at 9, who was there at the time, right? You had Nuno Mendes at 10, Kvisha Kvaratskhelia at 12, Desiree Doué's in here, João Neves is in here. Like winning the Champions League at PSG got a lot of these guys on this list where maybe, I wouldn't say that all of them necessarily deserve to be there. You probably want to put Gyökeres a little higher. He scored a ridiculous number of goals at Sporting. Right, but it's just the different things that you value, right? It's just about the different things that you value. And the timing of this was perfect for Dembélé. And now I can imagine, I'm really happy for the guy, honestly, because the amount of pressure, the amount of hate he was getting. I wouldn't say it was a Harry Maguire level, but when you're a bust and you're able to turn around and prove that you are actually legit. And now he's got this big shiny trophy that he can just wave in anybody's face if they ever say he's not great. Again, he's been great for a year or two. And he absolutely deserved this award. Now, I always take exception to people being like, well, Lamine Yamal will get his. We should give this one to Ousmane Dembélé now. That is bad logic. That is faulty logic, and we should not adhere to that. Again, I don't think this award is that important, but when you're talking about these sorts of awards, do not assume the future. Lamine Yamal could slip on baby oil at his next birthday party, blow out both of his knees, and he's never the same. Right? I really hope that doesn't happen. I hope he plays until he's 38 years old and we get to see an all-time legendary career that he is clearly capable of. But every year should not be it's this person's turn. If you are having an award like this, every year should be who is the best player this year in the world in terms of winning and in terms of on-field performance. And the answer this year is Ousmane Dembélé. And that is just patently insane. And for those people that are hating on it too much, I got a stat that I pulled for you. He's 15th highest in goals and assists in the 21st century for a Ballon d'Or winner, right? There's obviously been 25 awards given out in that time, which means there are 10 Ballon d'Or winners that had less goals and assists than Ousmane Dembélé, proving that he is not somehow this all-time bad Ballon d'Or winner. And maybe my favorite fun fact of all, Ousmane Dembélé, the bust, the big signing that flopped a la Philippe Coutinho. He's won a Ballon d'Or before Kylian Mbappe and Erling Haaland. Now, obviously, it's because both of those guys have had better seasons. This is why this conversation is always so dumb. Erling Haaland's had a higher peak than Ousmane Dembélé. The treble and 1 billion goals. Kylian Mbappe's had a higher peak than Ousmane Dembélé. But Ousmane Dembélé did it at the right time. And it is now a nice, feel-good story to have Ousmane Dembélé as a Champions League winner. You're going to make me turn off ads on this site? Are you serious? It's 140 ads that got blocked. But I'll illuminate you on something else that's kind of insane, because Ousmane Dembélé has now become one of only 10 players to have won the Ballon d'Or, the World Cup, and the Champions League. Bobby Charlton, Gerd Muller, Franz Beckenbauer, Paulo Rossi, who I'm a level with you, I actually never heard of Paulo Rossi, Zinedine Zidane with hair, Rivaldo, Ronaldinho, Kaká, Lionel Messi, Ousmane Dembélé. Even if the award doesn't matter much, it is very cool for somebody like Ousmane Dembélé to be on that type of list. But the most important change we can make is devaluing the Ballon d'Or a little bit. I don't know how we do that, though, because we as a species seem to be driven to hold these popularity contests. In every major sport, right? In every major sport in the US, there's the MVP trophy. It works the same way, right? Michael Jordan and LeBron can't win more than 4 because even though they were the best player in the league for 8 or 9 years or whatever, like Ronaldo or Messi, It's this player. This player's been great for long enough. It's time to give Charles Barkley an award. It's time to give this guy an award, right? And the Ballon d'Or kind of felt the same way almost with Luka Modric. Like, oh, we've given them so many awards. Like, it's time to give him this award because he did this one amazing thing. And it was amazing, right? But I don't know how you'd actually be able to make this award something that I care about more. How you would be able to work stats in and weight stats and weight trophies and maybe at least include votes from coaches and players and stuff. The fact that it's just media. I mean, it's basically people like me that are voting to hand out this award that affects huge contract clauses, that affects huge, has massive generational reputational fallout based off where their votes happen to land. It just never felt right to me. But I am glad that the person that I think should have won, because that at least provides me with the validation that this kind of went to the right person. Although clearly sometimes it didn't. But now maybe that we don't have Ronaldo and Messi, it's going to go to the right person more, because there was a point where Ronaldo and Messi were basically just winning it every time because of who they were towards the end, right? Instead of the seasons that they were having. So maybe we're getting back to the Ballon d'Or being better. That's my final takeaway.